Welcome to Orange First, everybody, brought to you by OtterBox. I'm here with Woody Page and Allison Mastrangelo. We're going to check in with Troy Rank at Dove Valley in just a few seconds. But first of all, it is not a Victory Monday or an Orange Monday. Apparently, it is back to Purple Monday. Woody is dressed for the Rockies playoff run.
Yeah,
in October, which ended after one game.
LSU,
oh, dude, we'll take the LSU purple.
Minnesota Vikings, Mullen High School.
Anyone but Broncos. Winners all. But we can't talk about the Broncos beating the New York Giants last night. Woody, I know last night, Allison, you were in a very somber and somewhat angry locker room, depending who you talk to. And Woody...
and she was the angriest person in there.
yeah. Right. I have to go in here and interview these players after this? But yeah, Woody, we talked about it last night live on Xfinity Sports Extra. You and Troy on the field. They just didn't come out ready for this game after a 2-week break for the bye week.
You've got such an incredible stretch coming up. 3 games on the road, and then you've got a home game against the Patriots. You're coming out of a bye. You're well rested. You're playing the worst team in the National Football League, and that's what you were able to come up with last night. Talking about being angry, as an observer of this team for more than 40 years, I'm thinking that is one of the worst performances after a bye I've ever seen. Andy Reid's well known for always winning his games after byes. Mike Shanahan never lost after a bye. And we realize Vance Joseph is a rookie coach, and you got veteran coordinators and assistant coaches there. That preparation, even though they said they had a great practice week, that was not there. The desperation, as they always say in hockey, was not there, and the effort. And even the fundamentals, one play, and I'm sure both of you saw it, and everybody watching the game, they went out and nobody knew where to get on the field. And they finally had to call a timeout. They had the wrong package, the wrong players, and I know they had injury problems. But that, to me, just summarized the whole game.
Well, they talked to us all week, players and coaches, about you have to be desperate no matter who you're playing, whether they're 5-0 or 0-5. So they were talking about this. This is not a trap game. Anybody can beat you on any given night. We're not taking them lightly. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. But their actions came out not backing up their words. And Allison, you were in the locker room last night on Xfinity Sports Extra, and Woody said, I need to see some fire, some angry people, some people upset about this. And some people's personalities are different. Vaughn and Trevor were not angry on the podium, but you did encounter some anger when you interviewed some of the players last night.
Words like tough, disappointing, pissed off. Guess who said that? Derek Wolfe, of course. He said they were really, really mentally prepared. They had practiced well. They didn't show up. The Giants were better. They practiced more, and he's pissed off. He had a lot of fire in the locker room. We just didn't see it on the field last night.
Pecco was used another word. What did he say?
No, I think it's more disappointing, but like we're going to work on it type of thing.
Yeah, he said this sucks. I think
yes, he did use this sucks, but in like a nice surfer way, as he always is.
With a smile on his face.
Yes, exactly.
But Allison, they're talking about it after the game. That's what they should have been talking about at halftime. Because at halftime, you realize this is not going the way you expect it to. And that's when great coaches and great players make adjustments, mid-game adjustments, so that you come out in the second half. We didn't see any changes in the second half.
No. I tell you what, this is me. I would not have put Trevor Siemian back in the game in the second half. He was dinged up, his left shoulder hurt, trying to make a tackle on the pick six. He'd already thrown 2 interceptions. Give Brocktober a chance and let him ride it out for the second half. But Trevor Siemian came back in the second half, and he's coming back next week, too. So let's get to that. Troy Rank is live at Dove Valley covering the Broncos, our Broncos insider. We just heard from Vance Joseph, and you thought the Giants were beaten up, black and blue, coming into this game. The Broncos are the very same going into L.A. to play the Chargers next week. Troy, you just talked to Vance Joseph. Man, there's a long list of injuries we need to update here.
Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders is out this week with a right ankle sprain. They're thinking it's just a 1-week injury. We'll see. It's believed to be a low ankle sprain. Isaiah McKenzie is out, so they're going to have to probably go to Brendan Langley on punt return. McKenzie honestly hasn't had much of an impact yet, but he's out this week. Billy Turner, who went in at right tackle for Menelik Watson, broke his hand. He's having surgery as we speak. He will be out this week. They think Menelik Watson will be back. And Trevor Siemian, his left shoulder's okay. He will start. I did ask Vance Joseph, kind of what you're alluding to, what point does he have to be evaluated? Not on injury, but, whether he's effective enough. I mean, they went 21 possessions without a touchdown. I mean, that's on your quarterback. That offense I saw last night, I watched all last year. I mean, that's how you lose. When Trevor throws at least 40 times, Lionel, they're 1-6. And they can't win this way. If they don't have balance, they can't. Most teams can't. unless you have Rodgers or Brady or Breeze. But when the Broncos have no balance, they have no chance offensively.
Troy, I just want to throw this in and get your response to it. 3 games, 3 touchdowns. 3 total touchdowns in 3 games.
Right.
Buffalo, Oakland, and then what we saw last night. That means there must be a change, and they're not going to change running backs. I mean, they may rework them, but that means it falls on your quarterback. It falls on your offensive coordinator. It falls on Musgrave as a quarterback coach.
Yep.
That you just pointed out, that was what we saw under Kubiak. Don't lose the game. Well, they're now losing games because they are so tentative, so conservative on offense, and they're not scoring. In the red zone, out of the red zone, anywhere on the field.
Yeah, Troy, Vance talked about that a little bit. I said I would have left Brock in. You got Trevor Siemian using dinged up, his left shoulder again, the same shoulder as last year. But Vance, he's going to stick with him, right? That's what he said today.
Correct. No plans for a change there. Again, remember, and I get it with the frustration with Siemian, especially when he had time to throw last night. He was 2 for 9 with 2 interceptions. That's the more concerning thing. This wasn't on the offensive line like last year. The offensive line stunk. The line wasn't great, but this wasn't on the line. I mean, this was more on Trevor, frankly. But there's plan to stick with him. But I would say this, remember, Lionel, the Brock Osweiler people have in their mind is from 2015. He was arguably the worst starting quarterback in football last year. So they're trying to rebuild his confidence, recalibrate him. And, what he brought up, McCoy, there is a point with this offense, guys, it's pretty much the same personnel. That I don't know that it is the coordinator. I mean, sometimes you're just not good enough. And that's the concerning thought for me as I sit here is, are they good enough offensively to make the defense matter? And there's nights like last night, you're just like, you know what? They're not. They're not good enough offensively to overcome any adversity. And that's a scary thought because that's hard to fix in season without talent upgrades. So we'll see, but they're sticking with Siemian.
Well, this is crazy. It's a week-to-week league, as we all know. And a couple of weeks ago, they were talking about giving Trevor a long-term contract extension after this year as the franchise quarterback of this thing when they were, 3-1, and they were talking about Super Bowls and all this crazy stuff. You said all along, they're not a great team. They're a good team. But have they gone from good to sort of a mediocre team with the way they showed up last night and the way the offense is trending, which is down?
Well, Troy and I have talked about this, and it's obvious to both of you guys. You've been around. That teams are not going to let the defense beat them. So what they're doing, they're trapping, and last night, let me give you a stat. Eli Manning had not thrown 19 passes or fewer since 2009. They said, we're not going to throw into the no-fly zone. Right. We're going to, even though we don't have a running back, we're going to create running backs. They did kind of what Kubiak was doing last year. We're not going to beat ourselves. Yes, they did have a couple of turnovers because they fumbled. That was a sloppy game. But that's what teams are now using blueprints like the Bills did against the Broncos of they can't beat us, talking about the Broncos, if we don't give them 3 interceptions and 2 fumble recoveries. Right. I think, Troy, you said it. They're the only team in the NFL that doesn't have a fumble recovery this year.
Yeah, they have 4 takeaways. That might be dead last now after this week. And they're taking the outside linebackers, Von Miller, out of the game because, like what he said, they're not passing. I thought the biggest shock to me was that Denver didn't stop the run. I mean, Darkar, I didn't even heard of the guy. I mean, I knew he was. I mean,
Orleans.
Let's be honest, who was this guy? Orleans, Darkar. I mean, nobody knows who he is. After they shut down Gordon, Lynch, Ezekiel Elliott, Shady McCoy, I mean, I didn't think they'd have any issue shutting down the Giants' running game. But and again, it comes down to this. If the Broncos turn the ball over, they're not very good. And that's a bad place to be because your offense feels like they have to be either conservative or perfect. Somehow they got to get through that. And for me, it starts with the red zone. And can you get maybe Jake Butt back tight end this week? They've got to be more creative in the red zone. And you can't even live on field goal.
But we're not talking about Adrian Peterson showing up in Arizona. Right. We're talking about a rookie that hasn't played.
Or Gronk all of a sudden appearing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, really, I think if you start thinking, well, gee, if we can figure out how to get a new offensive tackle, an offensive tackle's not out there that's going to come in. No. Trading deadline's not till October 31st. I mean, what do you do?
When they were winning ugly the last couple of years, what was the key? Brandon McManus. he's arguably their worst player right now. He's missed 5 field goals. The only team that's missed 5 field goals, Tampa Bay, which has a curse on their kickers, as we all know. So this is the case where you can't win ugly when your field goal kicker can't make a kick at home. I mean, the formula doesn't work if you get in the red zone just to miss a field goal. I mean, they were winning ugly for 2 years at home by Brandon McManus being arguably their best offensive player. Now he's in a slump, a legitimate slump.
The Chargers have won 2 in a row. A team that had hard luck because they lost, including the game here. They had a field goal kicker problem. And then you got, after that, you know that Kansas City on Monday night's not going to be any kind of bargain. That's not a treat. And Philadelphia is one of the best teams in the league now. And then New England, you see what New England's kind of doing. They're not great this year, but they're good enough because they got one guy. That 4-game stretch is like running the gauntlet. I just think there's a team that could come out of this tunnel, and at the end of the tunnel is New England, and that's a locomotive coming in your direction. Then they could lose 4 games in a row, and that season's over.
But Troy was in the locker room with me, and I think you noticed this too. The players aren't making excuses. Like, they know they dropped the ball here. C.J. Anderson even tweeting out, you know, I'm sorry, I need to play better. So they're not making excuses, at least. They know they need to fix things. It's just, can they fix them all in time before they go on the road?
Exactly.
But they abandoned the running game. C.J. shouldn't apologize. What did he have in the game? I mean, sure, they had 46 yards because Troy looked it up after the game. I asked you about it, Allison. 43 at halftime. They quit. They were out of the game, but they quit running the football.
Down by 2 or 3 scores most of the time they started throwing. And Trevor throws 50 passes, you're done. All right, let's wrap this up. Troy, they go on the road at Chargers, at Chiefs, at Philly, back here for New England. Let's just look at L.A. next week. This was a slap in the face last night, sort of a wake up, Broncos. What do you see happening in L.A.? Hey!
Well, again, it's a winnable game. They're now an underdog. Before last night, they were a 1.5-point favorite. Now they're an underdog on the road, which I don't blame the odds makers after what they saw last night. But it's a winnable game, and I think it's going to be about a 75% Broncos fans in the stands. Remember, it only seats 27,000. It's going to be a collegiate-type atmosphere. But I think there'll be a sense of urgency recognizing that at Kansas City and at Philly, I mean, good luck. Good luck winning there. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're going to find out a lot about the leaders on this team and the sense of urgency and are they really different than a year ago?
Right.
Because what he said, this 4-game stretch, you go 1-3 or 0-4, you're probably out. I mean, that's the reality of it.
Right. All right, Allison, what do you think? Chargers game.
I think they go with a win, right? I mean, they're going to Chargers. It's going to be a lot of, I think, Broncos fans even in L.A. too. So I think that's going to help them. Small stadium, all Broncos.
Well,
if the fans could play, that would be great.
Well, the energy for them would be
There were some fans there last night too. But you're right.
It didn't help.
You just brought up a point. I thought, well, here's the good thing is those people bought those tickets for that stadium to sell them. I mean, they're capitalists. They're not fans of the team. Yes, the Broncos are going to dominate in terms of fan following as they did in San Diego. The problem is they had 75,000 people behind them last night. That didn't do any good. I think San Diego's a coming on team. They got a little confidence. They've won 2 games in a row. I just think that they're going to lose this game. I think it's a setup game. I think they lose.
San Diego, you said.
Well, I'm probably.
I can't get on San Diego either, believe me. I've said it 4 times, I think, since they've moved. And every time nobody catches it, nobody says anything. They're like, oh, that sounds right, San Diego.
They should be in San Diego. They're homeless. They're just wandering aimlessly in Los Angeles.
Well, these guys, I mean, Troy read off the injury list. He's at the process. I don't know who's going to make a play
Let me give
next
you a
week on offense. I really don't.
Troy thinks they're in San Diego. He's staying in San Diego and driving to the game.
He's going to San Diego Stadium. He's going to look around. Where's the game? No. I think they beat the Chargers because
I'm not losing. I'm not losing because I'm going to get In-N-Out Burger. So regardless of the outcome,
you're a winner right there, Troy, for sure.
I'm winning.
All right, Troy, thanks, man. We'll see you later today on Sports Extra at 4, 5, 6, and 10 with the latest. I think they go into L.A. and beat the Chargers. The next 2 games, Chiefs and Philly, I don't know. We'll see from there.
If you're angered, all I would say is read my column on the DenverChannel.com.
Oh, great column today by Woody.
I am out there. All your angst, I'm trying to release it so you can enjoy it.
Yeah, so enjoy Woody Page's column on the DenverChannel.com. Allison went out today and talked to some kids about this. Great stuff in their view of the Broncos and what happened against the Giants. And don't forget, Orange First sponsored by OtterBox with little goodies like this.
Why don't I have
Oh, yeah. Get that for your phone, Broncos country. Thanks to Otterbox.
Get
Thanks
it
to
now.
Allison.
Get it now.
Woody. Troy Rank.
It's too late.
We'll see you later today on TV, on Sports Extra, on the Denver Channel, and on Denver 7. Until next week, that's it. Have a great one. What do you think?